My name is James Mossholder. Name of my company, Triton REI Group. I work with a lot of funds. I've worked with funds for about 5.5 years. I've been wholesaling for about 6 years. So I work with funds, private equity funds, institutional funds. A lot of people know them as hedge funds. So funny word, but sometimes you say hedge funds, and a lot of people will get after you and say that's not right. It's REITs, it's this, it's that. But everyone knows we're working with funds, right? So I've been working with them for about 6 years now. Um, and I've done over 200 plus real estate transactions with funds, and I've done over 7 figures, creeping up to the double 7 figures. So we have been working with them for a long time, consistent buyers, and so in the next 60 minutes, my goal is to help you get your first deal working with funds. That's kind of been my goal with all my webinars. It doesn't matter if you are starting fresh or if you have been doing this for a while, you can definitely add this to your current business if so. The goal here is $0 out of pocket by using certain softwares, less than 2 hours of work a day. And you can easily scale this 2 to 4 deals a month with just one VA. And then, my main goal here is helping you find deals that you can send to funds. And these funds are paying 84 to 87% of ARV. The goal here is to show you guys how that's done in this webinar, how to find the deals, how to send them to funds that you can find. And, this can be done from the MLS. I sell multiple properties from the MLS. Let's see. Thank you, James. Oh, no worries. Who's the Michigan Hedge Fund? Good question, Sergio. I'll help you find them. Before I start, I want to promise you this will be worth your time. For those, and I've mentioned this already, but for those who stay until the end of the session, I will be giving you exclusive access to a fund's direct contact info. Someone actively purchasing right now. You can plug them into your deal flow immediately. So again, stay to the end. We'll start here. We'll give you this contact. We have your email addresses. We're going to give you their buy box as well. So the buy box is going to include the states and markets they're purchasing in, the type of deals they're purchasing, the price points they're purchasing. And so the cool thing is you'll be able to reach out to them directly. Obviously, feel free to work with me. If you have something that hits the buy box right away, I can definitely help you. So I have my VA in the Zoom monitoring the people that are coming in and out of the Zoom. So they only give away this contact information for those that stick out to the very end. So definitely stick it out. We need to make sure when we're sending these deals that we're doing it correctly, right? Now, this guy knows I'm giving his contact out. So the last thing I want to do is give his contact out and regret it. So don't make me regret it. So let's begin. All right. So, what are hedge funds and why should I work with them in 2026, right? One hedge fund has significant higher buying power than local buyers. Now, as we understand, some of these funds are huge, right? They deploy hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars into real estate. Right. So, their goal is to take that capital and purchase single family homes. They also purchase land, they purchase multifamily, and they have to spend the money. They have quotas to hit. So, when these funds come to the market, they have certain terms they have to stick by. And those terms say we need this capital deployed by this certain time, right? Because they have investors on the back end that are waiting for a return. And so as they are buying deals, it's like a bucket of water. Every drop of water goes into the bucket, and that bucket has to hit a certain return. Sometimes they just have to fill the bucket with some water, and that's kind of where we can get some good deals going with them. Um, and also, we're working with representatives of these funds, right? The decision maker isn't emotionally tied to the property or the fund money. They have a job to do. They have a buy box they abide by, and as long as the properties fit in the buy box, as long as their yields are hit, they say, "Hey, let's do this," right? That's their goal. Their goal is to buy properties, and they rarely back out. Now, we're going to cover a couple of things, and one of those things is, we've seen some executive orders come out recently, so we can cover a little bit on that. Um, but for the last 6 years, the only time, and if you have sold to a fund before, put a one in the group chat, because this will actually, let you know what's happened, right? So, and we have a couple of people that have. And so, a lot of people were selling to funds before COVID, even a little bit through COVID. And then one day it was like, boom, right? It was like, what is going on? And what had happened was the interest rates went from, that 3% mark, started doubling, tripling, what have you. And so at that very moment, a lot of the funds cut everyone off, stopped contracts, canceled contracts. It was a time in the world where no one knew what was going to happen, right? And so that was the one time where I saw a total pause on funds purchasing. And then they pretty much trimmed the fat, right? So if you had good relationships with funds, they kept you on kind of under the radar. You send them deals and they're still, business as usual. If you did not have good relationships with them, if you were new to them, if maybe you weren't sending the best deals to them, or deals that worked the best for them, they kind of just canceled a lot of relationships with people. That was the one big time I've seen over the past 6 years where they literally just stopped cold turkey. The nice thing was if you had contracts with them, they paid out EMD to everybody, right? They just said, "Hey, we're going to take a hit." They paid out their EMD to everybody. Um, and then they stopped for about a month, right? And so they stopped for that month, and then as soon as that month was over, they had their preferred wholesaler list that they reached back out to, and boom, business as usual. So, we will see that happen with certain events. The only other thing that I can think of that that was a time when funds will stop is with like big storms, right? Say there's like a huge storm that rolls through, tornadoes, what have you. So if they've had a deal with you under contract, um, they would they would pretty much extend their inspection period for another week and go to each property and just make sure that, for one, the property's still standing, but for two, there's not a ton of damage, right? So we actually saw some things happen in Texas and Tennessee recently. Someone that's from the snow or the snow area, you're like, hey, that's nothing, right? But people that are from Texas, Tennessee that don't see too much snow, southern Tennessee that don't see too much snow, they're going crazy, right? And maybe houses aren't set up for it. So, I actually had a contract that was supposed to close last week. I just got the HUD from it today, and hey, they went back to the house. Nothing too crazy, no pipes burst, nothing like that. Deal's done. So, those are a couple things that are the only reasons I've seen funds not moving forward. Other than that, it's business as usual. Never has to do with money, which is amazing. So, um, and let's see here. I'm gonna do one more thing. Give me just a set. Remote control, annotate layout, pause. How do I record? It is recording. Okay, sorry, I just gotta make sure this is recording for everyone. Um, okay, and so typically what I'm doing is, and what I'm looking for is I'm looking to sell to funds at an 85 to 87% ARV. And really what that means is if the house is in great shape, good shape, um, you know, and manual, so I'll explain this. I'm explaining this right now. So 87% of ARV. That obviously depends on the property, right? If the property was burnt to the ground, yeah, they're not going to buy it at 87% of ARV, right? They're going to buy it at 87% of ARV minus repairs, right? So that's the goal that we have to keep in mind. Now, um, they really purchase inside of a gap, and their gap is where a lot of people do not purchase, and that's where a house is in good shape, but it hasn't been turned over yet. So they really look to find homes that need about 20, 30, 40, $50,000 worth of work, right? That could be a new roof, HVAC, paint, flooring, what have you, something that they could turn around quickly and get on the rental market. And they do buy turnkey as well. But that turnkey exactly is going to be at 87% of ARV. So that's kind of where those numbers come in. And so, the next part is knowing that, why doesn't everybody work with them? Um, and, also knowing that, how do they actually make money, right? Two great questions. And simply don't know how to reach out to them in the correct manner. And so that's a big thing that I try to teach is, how do you reach out to funds, representatives of funds in the correct manner. And we'll go over a little bit of that today. Um, they are not easy to find, and they do not do a lot of promotion. And when they do promotion, it's mainly based around the rental business, right? So you can find the rental companies out there. Obviously, they always want to, rent their properties that are on market. So they're promoting those a lot. They don't really promote their acquisition teams and stuff of that sort. Um, and so Sergio's asking what's their contact information. Man, Sergio, you just missed out on it. Sorry. Let's see here. They target a certain yield and have to report to their investors. If their money isn't deployed, it sits idle, which gets 0% return. So this is a big, big issue, right? As we know, inflation eats money. And so, um, as a fund is looking to deploy hundreds of millions of dollars, sometimes it's better to deploy that quicker with deals that aren't the best, rather than letting that money sit where you get 0% return. Inflation is eating up your cash, and you're waiting for those special little deals, right? That doesn't really always happen. It doesn't always really work out for them. So they rather play the game of, hey, we'll buy something that's just not the best deal, but it's still a good deal, and we will get the next one and the next one and the next one, bring these all together, and get a good return. Right. And so they much rather buy a bad deal than buy, anything. Sometimes they significantly overpay. And so I've had times where they have paid 90 to 95% ARV, and I'm shocked that it's happening. Um, but a lot of times it comes down to their yield numbers, and that's what matters to them. Okay, so let's go into a little bit of how we find them. Um, so these are just, again, things that we can use as free resources. Now, PropStream, a lot of people might already have PropStream. You can do a free, I think it's a 7-day trial there. Um, Other than that, it's a great resource if you're in real estate in general. PropStream is a great resource. Now, Zillow, agent relationships, LinkedIn, these are all great areas. Up went too far here. These are all great places to start. Now, LinkedIn is a great resource. It's a free resource. I definitely say always have a profile set up on LinkedIn. Please have a profile set up on LinkedIn. Your description should be, exactly what you do. You help find properties for institutional buyers, or even you help investors sell properties or what have you. Whatever you can that sets you aside and lets people know that you're in the real estate investment world, right? Sub to Gator, all that stuff. But you should definitely have a professional LinkedIn, because we teach you how to take your LinkedIn and utilize that to find new contacts with new funds, so that you can start working with them. So LinkedIn is probably one of the best resources to use by far. Um, and now, you kind of use all these together. So Secretary of State records, right? Whenever a big fund comes to the market, they have to play by certain rules with the government. SEC filings, stuff like that. So you can find a lot of contacts through that paperwork, through those filings. Form D will show you a little bit of what that looks like. PropStream will show you a little bit of what that looks like. Zillow. Um, Zillow is a great resource. I've taught a lot utilizing Zillow, right? That's where you find properties that are on market that you can go after. And it's also where you find a lot of funds as well. And then one of the most important things that you want to start with is agent relationships. Now, there's really two courses here. A lot of people go direct to seller, a lot of people go direct to agent. I always say, might as well do both. But if you're starting somewhere, going directly to agents and starting relationships with agents is a great place to start, and what I do most of the time. So, um, now if you want, go ahead and take a picture of this. These are words I use to research funds on LinkedIn, right? So you go to LinkedIn, you go straight to the search bar, keywords, you copy and paste these straight into the search bar, and that's going to bring up employees for a bunch of these funds, right? So, um, you'll be able to find them here, add them, follow them, talk to them, what have you. So definitely take note of this. Um, this is definitely a great resource to start with on LinkedIn. And as you can see, um, this is one of the funds that I've worked with in the past. You can see Resi America. Go ahead, take a picture of that. That's someone that's on my list, right? So again, the longer you stay in the Zoom, I'll start sharing a couple of these. Now, this is someone that you can reach out to directly, or even someone else at Resi America, but he's the acquisitions manager. And hopefully he doesn't hate me because he's trying to get blown up now, but that's all right. Um, and hey, we're getting some we need some everyone sorry, my now of course my voice is going. Shoot. Um, please make sure you're muted. Let's see here. I guess I might have to do another check real quick. Um, Sean, Adam De Rosa. Gotta mute yourself, brother. Sean Lee, you've been muted. Um, Armand muted. Raheem Rogers, gotta mute yourself. Gotcha. Um, Gotta call y'all out. Let's go. All right. As you can tell, I'm losing my voice, so I can't talk over everyone now. Mute check, 1, 2. Let's go. All right, on to the next. All right, so now that you've identified the right point of contact, aka acquisition manager, or any keyword that you want to put into that little thing there, simply reach out to them. Again, professional links in, have a nice photo. Nice professional photo. That's what AI is for. You can do it for free. Make sure you have a built LinkedIn, very important, and make sure that you're sending good professional messages, which nowadays is the easiest ever been. Like ChatGPT, make this professional, what have you. It's not too hard. And so here literally is a message that I sent straight up. Take a picture if you want. The funny thing is, I've actually showed this before, and people actually contact me with the same message. So it's always funny knowing that, hey, it's useful. People are using it because they definitely send it to me, asking me if I work for a fund. Um, but it's my own personal little fund. So pretty much this is just a quick, easy, hey, I work in a few markets. I know you're in those markets. I have great relationships. I've seen some of the properties you have currently purchased. Are you the correct person to talk to? If so, great. If not, who should I talk to? How can I best help you? Let's see. And then this is a response that I've received in the past. Now, usually I'll get someone's email. Sean is actually my business partner. Um, and this is literally a funds buy box, and the funny thing about this buy box, a lot of funds fit within this buy box. The 100 to 500 price range, that's where you're going to find most funds when it comes to single family properties. The big boys, they're buying in that 3-2 range. Now 1,400 square feet, that's usually a little larger than a lot of them. A lot of them will buy smaller, but this all these aspects are very similar to what most of the big boy funds are looking for. Preferred vacant always. Some will do post occupancy, but if you can, always get it vacant. And these no-goes, these are the same no-goes that every fund that I work with pretty much has for the most part. Maybe one or two things are different, but double yellow line roads, you see a lot of homes that are off in the rural areas, those tend to be off double yellow line roads. And when they say no homes off of double yellow line roads, what they mean is either the driveway cannot be off that double yellow line road, or the double yellow lined road cannot border the property, right? So if it's like the first property in a subdivision, that might be bordering a double yellow line road. They most likely don't want that property. There's even times where funds will not buy properties when the double yellow is behind the backyard, right? Like the backyard bumps up to one, right? So just so everyone knows, they can be picky when it comes to that kind of stuff. Um, Oops, that was quick there. So close to train tracks, if you are standing in the driveway of the property, can you see train tracks? Can you hear train tracks? It's probably a no-go. High traffic highways, dead end streets. That one's a maybe here and there, and close to power lines. So you'll see some properties will literally have power lines floating through the backyard or sometimes even the front yard. That happens to be a no-go. It's just a deterrent for the renter. All these are just deterrents for renters. Loud noises, things of that sort. Um, and some do want to make sure that you're not just shooting them everything you have, that you've actually, you're doing your due diligence and getting the correct, sending them a house at the correct pricing, right? So in addition of properties sent to us for an offer and our analysis, come back, or analysts come back with an offer that is off by more than 25 from the asking price, they won't even extend an offer. Now, that's not all funds, but a couple of them will just deny you straight up if you're asking for a price and they're off big time. Now, Tammy, HOA, that's always a good question to ask. It's really, HOAs only become an issue when there's obvious deterrence on rental restrictions, right? So, a big one that funds will turn away a deal for is if only a certain percentage of homes are allowed to be rented in that neighborhood, right? So you can come to an HOA and an HOA will say, hey, there's not one house in this HOA that is currently rented, but only 20% of the homes in this neighborhood can be rented at any single time. That's an automatic no-go, right? So those type of deterrents you want to stay away from. If they have to, if the HOA has to approve the tenant, sometimes that's a no-go. That's kind of 50-50. Most funds just want to either be able to rent it for 7 months or 12 months or longer, right? Some are 12 months or longer, and some, hey, we just have to make sure that we can rent this for at least 7 months or longer, right? So a lot of HOAs are saying, hey, no short-term rentals, not a problem. And then here is, a message that, I sent out on LinkedIn. Um, this is something that, again, they can take a picture of and, send this as well. So here's another one. And then funny enough for this one, I did get a reply. So, This was the reply. This was literally them just straight up sending me zip codes, price points, and just an explanation, right? So this will happen as well. You will kind of get an explanation of how they run their comps. A lot of them will run on gross yields. I would say most run on gross yields, and sometimes they also take into appreciation. Um, but to get what they need for rental yields, this is very common. And Sean, do they usually respond pretty quick? In this instance, yes. Now, don't take this as as a time. This is what we call probably like a small to medium sized fund. This is a private equity fund here. So this one, yes. When you're talking to the big boys, it could take some time. So it can definitely take some time. So I mean, I've had it where, someone has reached out to me a couple months later. But it's all right. We just keep after it. And that's actually something that I do teach. So I teach the correct way to do that. Um, and so this is actually something else we've talked about. Every fund that raises money without going public needs to file Form D with the Secretary of State, which becomes a public record. So this is one way to find new funds coming to the market. Not all of them go public, right? We have private equity funds, and so this is something that I have actually found multiple times. And you could download a lot of these files, read them, find context. I even actually think I have a video explaining this on my YouTube. So if you go to my YouTube, I actually have found one fund that I work with currently. Awesome, Sean. Glad you saw that one that I work with currently that I found this way. So this is definitely a good way to find new funds coming to the market specifically. It's nice when you can kind of be their first wholesaler and get going with them. Now, this is a big indication, right? So this is PropStream. Give me a one in the chat if you use PropStream, right? And so you've probably come across properties that are linked to thousands of properties. Now, sometimes this is a big fund, and sometimes this is just an agency that hides people, right? Um, Now, in this instance, this is a big fund. So if you have PropStream, you can go ahead and take this address, this Dallas address, and put it in PropStream, go to the property details, take that name, take it to LinkedIn, and find out who it is. And that's number two on the list for you. So this is a big boy. This is definitely a big boy fund. They buy a lot. They buy portfolios. They buy everything. So, snap a shot of this. Um, you'll definitely always see non-owner occupied corporate, right? That kind of gives you a sense of who you're looking at. Now, this is little people, like my properties, they're going to say corporate, right? Non-owner occupied. So it's not everyone that's a corporation or corporated is going to be some big, huge fund. But if it is a big, huge fund, they will definitely be owner type corporate. So always make sure you take a look at that non-owner occupied. You can go into these total properties owned and you can see that the LLCs really line up with each other. Same name on all those LLCs. And then one little hack that I'm gonna give away right now is you will start going through those properties and you'll start noticing how long they've owned, right? So length of ownership. So you see length of ownership right under occupancy, 7 years, 4 months. Well, if I'm doing what I do, I'm looking for that length of ownership to be, as short as possible, right? I want that to be 2 months, 1 month, 3 months. Because as soon as you recognize that it's 1, 2, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, what have you, they're buying in that area right now, right? So you can target that area. So keep that as a little something, something in your brain. If you see length of ownership very short, uh, they're buying in that area right now. And so this is typically, you can work with one fund. I mean, I actually just got a HUD today that with one property blows that one out the water. But either way, one fund, and you can literally work with one fund and be solid. Literally one fund. Consistently. I work with a few, but it really takes one good relationship. And so this is actually a deal that I worked on with a wholesaler. A wholesaler I've been coaching came to me asking me if I had a buyer for a deal they had because they couldn't find a buyer. So, mentorship, this is someone coming from that mentorship and, brought me this property. I'll show you exactly why this didn't work for a lot of people. Um, right. So the list price was 280 and, we were able to get it under contract at 219. Now it was pretty much listed slightly above ARV. And that's, it happens, right? But the cool thing is, we got a fund price of 230. Now, when an agent lists a property for too expensive, that gives us an opportunity because that means everyone that has seen it has said no, pretty much. Right now, we're looking at the property and we're like, hey, why is that listed at that price? It does not make sense, right? I think this one I put it in there. Yeah, so this one at 25 is so every fund, when you're working with a fund, they have a default budget. This fund had a $25,000 default budget. Now, if they can see that, hey, now this thing needs 40 or 50 or $60,000 worth of work, they will adjust their contract price. But if they're looking at a property and it just needs paint, flooring, and new appliances, then they usually use their default budget. So that one was more than good on this one. So that was a nice little $10,000 deal that I helped the wholesalers pretty much get under contract and sell because when they brought it to me, I think they were trying to get it to someone at like 150 or 160 if I remember right. It just wasn't that. It was in good shape, so it wasn't that big of a deal. I think I even put my VA did this for me, so I'm pretty sure she put pictures in here. Oh, there's the HUD right there. And so this was just at the right before Thanksgiving. Um, you know, she blacked out the fund and everything. That's all right. Back to the seller. That's great. Here's the price right there. There's my company, Triton REI, 10,000. Um, but that was at 91% ARV. So that's probably why she picked this one. That was a pretty good one. Um, let's see. And so here's the property. As you can see, it's a beautiful property. I think they were going to put new countertops, new appliances, paint. I think new lighting. I forgot what it was, but I mean it's pretty much a good property ready to go. And this one was an assignment. Now, some funds require you to double close. Some are cool with assigning. Um, so just for everyone that understands. you know, Signing is me giving the rights to a contract to someone else. I'm assigning over the rights of my contract to the buyer. A double close would be I'm literally purchasing the property and I'm gonna have a new file to sell a property, right? A lot of people will say AB to BC, right? So you have the seller buyer and then now me, the seller, going to the buyer. Some funds require you to double close. Most are good with assignments, and some it depends on how big that assignment is. So if the assignment gets over a certain amount, then you have to double close, right? So it really just depends. I think, oh yeah, we do have another one in here. Cool. So um, oh wait, I think the last one was actually my VA. And so this one's a wholesale. This one a wholesaler brought to me that I've been coaching as well. Shorey Lane, I think I have some pictures in here. Here's another deal. Everything should be in here. The rehab was 25. That sounds about right. Um, Here's the HUD there. So this one's middle of the year. And here's this property. So this is pretty much like a what they're looking for. This is a perfect property for what people are looking for or what funds are looking for, right? As you can see, you come into this property. This was how it came to me. And so when they see this is great for them because it's a quick turnaround, right? Most likely they might paint the cabinets, new countertops, definitely will put in new appliances, might change the door hardware. We'll take some of the funkiness out of it, might even paint the fireplace, new ceiling fans, right? So that's what that default budget is for. So they're going to put some money into the property no matter what, just to make it attractable to the renter. This bathroom, I think they did end up updating the flooring. It's kind of hard to see here, but they did some good stuff to this. But this was a quick turnaround for them. And that's what they love, right? Um, okay, so this is kind of the next part. Again, thanks for kind of sticking through all this stuff. Um, and thank you for showing. Yeah, we got the HUDs, right? You got to show the HUDs, and so and the reason why I thought we are gonna have three deals in here. Usually, I like to show one from the beginning of the year, one from the middle of the year, and one from the end of the year, so that what do you want to go here? Where do you want to go? Um, and so let's go back to this one so we can talk about kind of how these percentages of ARVs happen, right? So I even think the when I went back to this property, the Zestimate on this property was like 220 or something like that, which was funny. But the big part about finding homes in these conditions, you can tell that they are quick to fix. Um, and in the reverse of that, John Zaniga, foundation issues, they don't deal with foundation issues. That's an automatic turn away. Um, right. So foundation issues are an automatic turn away because that causes issues for a lot of it's an unknown, right? You really don't know what that's going to turn out for you. So if there's foundation issues, automatic no-go. Kayla, solar, that's a maybe, right? Some funds will be okay with solar. Some funds, if there's solar, it's a no-go right away. Usually, if a fund is okay with solar, it has to be paid off, and most of them want it paid off before closing. Won't even let the seller use funds from closing. It has to be paid off before closing. Um, and some will be okay with them being paid off with the funds at closing as well, right? Because you got to deal with the solar company and all that stuff. But villas, condos. So now we're a lot of these questions um, we can get to and that's all buy box information, villas, condos, apartments, land, single family, multifamily. It's really fund specific. So then when we start talking about the funds that we're going after, again, their buy box, that takes a lot of work. So that's something that you kind of figure out as you go. Or I can teach that as well. Okay, let's see. Now this one again, fund price at 200. I believe the ARV was at the 236, 250 for this one. Um, and so this one ended up needing a little bit more work. I think this one needed a roof, if I remember right. But again, that's like right in that range. Good market. This one was a double close. I don't think she put both of the HUDs in there, but this one definitely was a double close. Um, and let's see. Okay, so and I'm gonna address Sadia James. How do we JV with you? So I'm going to address that in a little bit. So and I'll address it right now actually because that makes sense too. So I have done a few of these webinars, and throughout the webinars, there have been 500 people on them. And so, that's not for each one, but for a couple of them, it's had that many people, and then for some others, it's been 300 people. And then also, my contact gets floated around the sub two groups, the Gator groups, and on Facebook groups and Facebook messages and all that stuff. So, um, I'm having a tough time working with all these bird dogs at this point. So I've kind of have cut off my ability to work with any new ones, unfortunately. And a big reason for that was because I've been flooded with so many messages that it was starting to hurt my own business as well as the bird dogs that I had already started working with. So it's kind of like either I can give a good experience to a good group of people, or I can give like a very okay experience to everybody. And so it was kind of hurting everyone. And unfortunately, it's kind of hard for me to take on new people to JV with at this time. So um, sorry, I got to put that out there. But and then this is actually a big point that has been coming up recently, right? So how will Trump's executive order affect selling deals to hedge funds in 2026? Obviously, I've talked to some funds about all of these things, and so this is kind of like what I'm hearing. And so everyone can pay attention to this. So currently, there's certain things that funds don't even touch anyways, right? So they don't really want to touch REOs, they don't want to touch HUD properties, things of that sort. And so it's sounding like that's going to be pretty much put into law, right? They don't want, the HUD opportunities and the REO opportunities, they want those opportunities to go to the general public, right? So that's a big part of it. Um, and so also government programs facilitating sales and financing insurances and so them kind of getting the better deals out of everyone else, right? And getting these better deals when it comes to cheaper insurance because you can put all these properties into one insurance plan, stuff like that. Um, and then a big part actually was speaking to a fund this morning. And one thing that they had mentioned was that when funds so funds do sell a lot of their properties back to the market, right? A lot of people don't know this, but I actually see their portfolios quite often. So they will sell 100, 200 homes at a time back to the market, right? So they kind of rotate homes as they go. Some maybe they're not, producing what they want to produce, or maybe they just want out of a certain area for whatever reason. But they take a lot of the homes that they buy and they take them back to the market and they buy other ones, right? Well, when the fund takes a portfolio of 100 to 200 properties, typically what they'll do is they'll go, "Hey, other fund, look at these. Would you buy this portfolio or would you buy a good chunk of them?" Um, it sounds like that might not be legal anymore, right? It sounds like they might have to bring those properties to the general public first. So then the general public gets to see them first for a certain amount of time, and then they could go and sell them to a fund. And that's kind of a big thing for us, right? Because that gives us a good opportunity. That gives us an opportunity to go buy them, wholesale them, sell them to other funds, what have you, as long as they're working through us. Um, and also, a lot of funds are in the BTR realm now, right? And what BTR, if you've ever seen the BTR acronym, that really means build to rent. And so, what build to rent is, funds will go out and buy lots, right? A certain unit count of lots, right? Anywhere from 20 to 100, and build up 20 to 100 homes and rent them all out, build to rent. The that is something that is should not stop, obviously. So if you know anything about the rental shortage and the new home shortage, we are short on everything, right? So we are short on everything, and the biggest problem we have is regulation kind of slowing down the building. And so you see places like Arizona, Texas, Florida, they build like crazy there, so rents are pretty stabilized until you go to a different place like California where you got to jump through some hoops to build some rentals. It really slows down the process, right? So I think the government has not issued anything, actually have carved out special deregulation things for the BTR builds, which is great, obviously. So so that's kind of where this is coming into play. Now, a big part of this is and one thing that I have taught a lot in the past is how to source on-market deals, right? And so, sourcing on-market deals is easy, especially if you're starting out, right? It's automatic lead flow. You'll find some gems that for whatever reason no one has touched, and I sell a few on-market homes a year to funds.
Uh-huh.
Um, the one that I showed you earlier, the first one I showed you earlier, that was actually on market. And I sold that one to a fund, right? So um, there is a chance, and we're kind of still waiting to hear what they say, but there is still a chance that funds are banned from buying on market properties. It has not come to fruition. It's kind of just out there in the ether currently, but it could happen, right? So that's why, I'm still teaching, what I can as a free resource, but that's also why I teach, build relationships because that's where off-market stuff comes into play. Um, and so, if if you are solely on market, searching the on market for properties to sell, just make sure that you are keeping that agent's contact information. And it's going to turn into a, hey agent, this one might not work for me, but what else do you have? Kind of conversation, right? Um, and that's kind of what you have to keep in mind as you go here. So, do you do a lot of commercial properties to hedge funds? So most of the funds when it comes to commercial is multifamily only, right? They're not really, they have different divisions and different people that buy like actual industrial stuff and stuff that it's kind of, you kind of, they do them themselves, but they do buy multifamily. And so we do have a few funds that definitely do that. Um, and they might even do more of that as a single family, on market stuff gets a little shaky. Um, but at the end of the day, it's they buy everything, right? Except I have not seen a fund buy an RV park, although you can find private equity funds that do, right? The institutional buyers, they do not buy RV parks. Institutional buyers do not buy mobile home parks, things of that sort. Um, do you have to have photos, videos? Oh yeah. So one thing is, when you are pitching a home, and this is probably, one of the last things we'll put out there. Um, and I'm sure we're gonna have a lot of questions. Like I said, I want to thank everyone for staying to this point, right? My goal is if I can get everyone on a one-on-one phone call, we can definitely have a conversation. You know, go from there. But a lot of this stuff we can discuss there. But for one more thing, when we're working with funds, we want to make sure we're honest with what we're sending. And the best way to be honest is through sending pictures and videos. Right. So we want to, if we can, we want to have that ready to go. Because the last thing we want to do is waste their time by sending them to a property where maybe the rehab is even too much for them that they won't take it, right? A lot of them will cap the rehab about 60 or 70 grand. And so, if they
Oh,
have pictures, they can tell you
so
right
if you
away,
got it,
like, hey, that's not going to work because the
what we've
rehab
done
is
in
too heavy.
Tennessee where
Keep that in
they have
mind.
similar
Definitely always get as many
restrictions
pictures as possible. It
is
doesn't
that
matter
we
if
had
a
our
bunch
realtor
of stuff is in the
meet
way.
with
Like
the
they don't care
seller,
about that stuff. They can see
have the
right
seller
through it.
sign
Um,
all the
but the goal
documentation
is to
and
to
have
make
us
sure
in
that
there
they
as
can
a
price accordingly the best possible
what do you
Yo,
call it,
there's two
a
people talking
before getting
on board.
into the property. And
consultation fee.
so, are
We
we are
can
we getting
use
some? We got some non-muters. Uh-oh.
we can use closed title and
Uh-oh.
we can have
Okay.
them
Let me
handle everything A to Z if that's okay with y'all.
we gotta chill for a second. Everyone, make sure you mute.
So
I
sorry
guess I
guys, I
got
didn't
it.
know.
All right. Put a one in the chat if you can hear me. All right. All right. Not sure how much of that got cut off. That being said, um, we want to not waste our time and we don't want to waste the fund's time. So we want to have as much information as possible. And I'm gonna tell you right now, if you put them in a good position, they are going to definitely work with you more and more, and they will want to work with you, right? So if you have pictures, videos, if you know about the big ticket items like the roof, HVAC, windows, water heater, plumbing, electrical, if you have an idea of, hey, that stuff's in good shape, or usually I ask for the age of it, which can also help me in my negotiation tactics. So if you're asking for the age of all that stuff, you can then send all that information on to the fund, and they can actually get you a proper rehab scope and a proper purchase price because last thing you want to do again is send them to a property where you know most likely they're not going to do well on. Now, for me going forward, um, I appreciate again everyone staying to the end here. And my main goal always is to say, you can do this with really no cost out of pocket. Now, of course, it's going to take longer. Of course, you got to do more work and you got to do more outreach but at the end of the time, you can do it at no cost, right? You can do it through LinkedIn, through Zillow, through Google. All those resources are out there, and it's very possible to do this at no cost. And that's pretty much the reason why I do the free webinars, right? Um, Now, on the other end of it, I do, and I have in the past, or I do currently do one-on-one mentorships, right? And so, that's really expensive though. So I don't really offer that outright to a lot of people. It's just there for people when they need it. And so, my goal was really to get this information out to y'all so that you can start contacting people and you can start those relationships and start building. And then all those people then can find bird dogs to help out, right? I just can't do it all, unfortunately. I tried and it's really getting hard. And I'm not a person that wants to work 23 hours a day like Pace. I love my life, so I don't want to do that. Um, I know he loves his life too. I didn't mean it like that, but to put it out there, I have a work-life balance that I try to maintain, which is I can maintain great through what I do. So, um, you know, that is where we're out here for right now. That's what I got. And so, if you're looking to get into real estate game, um, and brand new, or just looking to add an extension to your business, watch these videos. Definitely dive into it. I've taught a lot of people what to do, so there's other people that you can definitely reach out to that are kind of extensions of myself. Um, and so, the next part is, and I guess I did bring it up. My one-on-one mentorship used to be 25 grand. And so that's obviously shocking, right? It's very expensive. And it's not that expensive anymore. I've brought it down to 15 grand because I wanted to add a couple people to it. So, that is out there. I say that because it is very expensive. But I pretty much guarantee you that I'm gonna work with you until you make your money back. So that's great and all, but I know that's not possible. So this is the next side of things that I am opening up on a brand new side of my mentorship that I've had a couple of people ask. I had a couple of people signed up for it, but this is really the what my own issue has led me to. I haven't been able to give enough bird dogs the time of day, and so it's hurting everyone. And so my main goal then was to transfer over to something that I can do for a select amount of people. And so just to get it out there, this is what I'm doing now, and this is kind of what I put together um, to help people in the community so that they can literally be extensions of myself and help out others, right? So right now I'm teaching 10 people. I have 4 people signed up already. So there's 6 spots left. Now, 5 grand is not a small amount of money. Um, that being said, I'm pretty much going to make it so you can go out and teach bird dogs to then bring you leads. And once you have those leads, you'll pretty much know everything to do moving forward when working with funds. So that's my big goal here is to say, hey, I know my actual mentorship is way too expensive for most people. So how can I make it? So this is what I'm coming up with. It will be done in small pods, right? So it's pods of 4 to 5 people. It's 4 to 5 people plus myself. We're gonna put you in some good markets. We're gonna target the correct price points for you. We're gonna find the funds for you. Obviously, I have a lot of them already. And then we're going to teach you how to do the whole process from start to finish. And so my goal is if I can do this for a select few of people, we can then actually go back to our bird dogs and help out way more people. Um, so that's kind of my hope here. And I need to make sure that if you're wanting to do this, you're in it to do it because I've taught too many people that just end up ghosting me as well. And obviously that doesn't work. So I've now have unfortunately limited the bird dogs I can work with. Um, and and so this is kind of where I've had to go. And obviously this is great for me because I know I can teach everyone. It's pretty much an hour a week for 12 weeks, and we build your whole business from start to finish, find you lead funnels all the way to disposing to our hedge fund buyers. You'll have the contacts for the hedge fund buyers to target. Um, and go from there. So that's kind of what I've come up with, and obviously, this is built to last for the future. So, um, you know, this is we'll do deal underwriting every week, how to target new funds that come to the market. The full LinkedIn process, the full Zillow process, where I can only teach so much on these videos because I have such a large audience. So now if I can sit down with 5 people at a time, give them my undivided attention, answer questions, literally go step by step through every single part of the business, that's the goal, right? That is the goal. And so, definitely this is something you want to tap in. We are at 6 spots left. And I have a couple calls. So, there's a couple spots left. So there's a few spots left, and that's where we're at now. I think my VA did also put in agent wholesaler relationship. So we're going to teach you how to work with bird dogs, how to teach that bird dog option. Here's the calendar. Sign up for a call. Now, again, everyone stay to the end because I am going to give a contact out. So make sure you don't leave yet. I am going to give a contact out to everyone that has stayed. Obviously, appreciate everyone staying. Um, and so, this is also my website is dealstofunds.com. And this is like this is the 15K package that I've had a couple people go through and do great. So, they're obviously doing their thing now. Everyone in this community actually knows one of the people that I did this for. I'm not going to put his name out here because then he's going to get blown up, but he's killing it. So this actually involves a lot more of actual business stuff as well, like obviously setting up CRMs, and getting on the phone call with acquisition managers of funds. And I have my VAs train your VAs and stuff like that. So this is a little bit different. Now, you know, from the first one, this can definitely be something that you build up into. But I understand this is very expensive. So um, that's where I'm at. So definitely if let's get on a call, we'll talk about it. Yes. And for now, let's see. Do we have email addresses for everyone that's still here? Okay. I'm going to take a screenshot of the people that are still here. Let's see. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Getting everyone. And then so we had set some markers for different times. Obviously, we had when you first got in, and then kind of marked it as you stayed through. Um, you will get a buy box and a person's name and email address. Um, And so I do want to make sure, again, giving this stuff out, I usually only give it to my mentees, right? I really don't give this out to the general public. Now, I try to lead you as much as I can, right? Because I do sign NDAs with a lot of them, and I can't really just give out all this information, but I did ask him. And so we're getting your email addresses here. I did ask him, and he said, hey, just make sure that they do not reach out unless they 100% have something that fit the buy box, right? Um, Make sure that the deal fits the buy box because they will blackball you. And that's a big thing I teach working with funds. If if you reach out to them and the deal does not fit their buy box, they will blackball you. They just won't work with you because they don't have to, right? So okay, we're getting some emails here. This should hopefully be the same email you registered with, so that we can obviously cross examine it, whatever you want to call that, what have you. Um, so we'll take a look, make sure we have a list of everyone that has been here, it's done everything. Um, as of right now, um, it's still going. We're still going here. Um, okay, you know what? So actually, looks like we got a lot of the calls booked. Um, 10. So we got 6 spots left. Okay, it sounds like we're already full on our calls. We'll open up some more calls. All right. So I want to give everyone an opportunity. If you obviously want the mentorship, I can only do so much, like I said, but I'll at least get everyone on a phone call that wants to talk about it, and as a token of my appreciation, even for the future, we'll get you in line. So, um, at this point, hopefully, a lot of this information helps you. Again, you can definitely do deals just by following this information, just by going to my YouTube and watching all the content. Um, it's definitely able to just, take some time. So, um, we have, okay. And I think, um, we have everyone's name and email. Thanks again for putting it here, but I think we should be good with everything. Um, and I'm gonna give, and no matter what, I'm gonna give everyone an opportunity to talk. So, if you see that there's not any spots available on my calendar, I'll open up my calendar some more. Um, just got to make sure there's some availability towards the rest of the week for myself. I'll check with my VA, and then we'll go from there. Okay. Um, y'all are welcome. You're welcome, Josh. You're welcome, Souza. I think we're definitely here. So I think we have a question. Um, Srikar. I hope I am saying that. How's
Yes,
it going? How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Um, I'm about to sign up for um, one of your calls.
Awesome.
Um, um, Several questions, but I guess I can start with one and I can ask you more later.
Yeah.
You talked a lot about sort of communicating with acquisitions managers, reaching out to people on LinkedIn and other social media platforms. Um, Could you talk more about, because you also mentioned using PropStream as a means to research availability of properties or information about properties and when they were sold and things like that.
Yeah.
But could you elaborate a bit more on actually identifying properties and the communications that occur between the seller of the property? How do you communicate or start a communication with them? Because I'm sure if someone's selling a property or then they'll have an agent and
Correct.
this whole situation. So how do we put our foot in the door to prevent them from selling to someone else and sell to us instead, or us being the middle party in this case.
Correct. Okay. So, that is actually a full hour of my training in my mentorship. Because it takes an hour to explain everything and now everything you're asking is a great question, right? It's definitely a great question. But a lot of it, where do you live? Where do you live?
I'm in New York City.
Awesome. Okay. Well, New York
Yeah.
City is a tough one for
I mean, I
folks,
don't
but
mind, looking at other places and traveling to other
yeah.
places. It means,
And so my whole career I've done everything virtual. So that's what I teach. I teach, and now, yeah, it's great to go to your market and nowadays, wherever I buy rentals, that's the markets that I pin on just because it's easier for me, right? So it's you really only need one good market, but where I own stuff, that's where I market and that's where I talk to people. It's relationship building, brother.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
you know. I teach a lot on that specifically because there's so many ways to go about it, right?
right.
At the end of the day, you're honest, right? You're working
Yeah,
for some big buyers and you're saying, "Hey, I'm looking for what you're selling."
right.
And when you learn how to craft that specific message correctly to an agent, you're helping them out at the end of the day. So now I do have some videos, and again, I have some videos like that kind of explain this on my YouTube. So definitely go there. But for anyone that does sign up for the mentorship, I do explain in detail of how to correctly reach out, contact agents, sellers, and put this idea in front of them. Yeah.
Gotcha.
All
That's
right,
awesome.
man.
Yeah, I appreciate you, and I booked a time with you, so maybe I can
Awesome. Yeah.
do a little research before then and ask you some more questions.
Definitely. No
Yeah.
problem.
Thank you
Awesome.
so much for your time.
And how do you pronounce your name?
Shrieker.
Shrieker. Freaking
Yeah.
knew it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, cool name, man. Cool name.
Yeah. Thank you. I
All
appreciate
right. All right, Shrieker.
it. Okay. Have a good one.
You too. I'm muting you. Yep. Um, all right. If anyone else wants to raise their hand, um, if it's something easy, I'll definitely answer the best of my ability. But if not, we can definitely cover it in the mentorship at some point. Um, boom, boom, boom. All right. All right. Okay. Go ahead and yeah, go for it. And dude, can you go pronounce your name as well for me?
You
It
mean
is
I'm gonna start with okay, I'm gonna start with Mergim.
Mergen. That's right. Yeah,
Let's go. Yeah, pop that camera on, man.
I'm trying to. It's not turning on. Let's see. What's going
There it
on here?
is.
Oh, got it. Cool. How you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thank you for your time. We appreciate all the info.
Of course. Yeah, yeah.
So I had been, just kind of looking at the different asset classes that, you covered single family homes. And then, I've got like commercial assets and hospitality assets. So are there specific ways to identify like the hedge funds or family offices that have buy boxes that do cover the assets that you own? Like if you
Through
reverse that, right?
I mean through software, right? So you can target certain assets through software like PropStream, right? So you can break down and that's obviously single family home is much easier. Like most of these software platforms work very well for single family homes. You know, when
Mhm.
it comes to other assets, it becomes a little more difficult. I'm sure if you own multifamily, if you own industrial, if you own big office buildings, you know how much of that stuff is just relationship based.
Mhm.
Um, and so usually it's a broker's game at that point. But you know, to recognize the easiest thing to do is to set parameters on PropStream that are close enough to what you have, and that will bring in buyers, and then you can say, okay, well, they need at least this amount of properties, right?
Understood.
Um,
Mhm.
usually PropStream is the best for that. You have stuff like Privy and other platforms that are okay at like every platform has its thing that works best on its platform, right? For what you're talking about, I think PropStream typically is the best for it.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you,
yeah.
man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. All right, Van, let's hear it.
Hey, thank you so much again. Like everybody else, like exciting things. If you
Yeah.
can go back to the time that you start to break through this wall, right? Because you don't
Mhm.
know people, big people, hedge fund, it sounds like it's so intimidated to most people.
Sure.
What is your most thing that you say that challenge for you back then that you overcome and learn through the time?
Okay, so this is gonna sound, it is what it is, but when I first started, I had a mentor. Um, so that takes a lot of the scariness out of it, right? Because it's like, oh, why are you scared? Just do it. It's not a big deal. Like that
Yes, of
they
course.
need people like us, right? Now,
Mhm,
most funds have internal acquisition teams, right?
mhm,
But what most funds have identified is they have to pay them no matter what. When they work
mhm,
with us wholesalers, they're only paying us if we bring them a deal, and the deal has to work out their price regardless,
mhm,
right? So the way that I frame it is by saying they need us, you know.
mhm,
We're helping them out. And that's how I approach them as well. Is like, a lot of my messages is how can I best help you? You know?
mhm,
Um, and so, a lot of the confidence just comes from the professionalism, right? That you lead with. You have a
mhm.
professional LinkedIn. So you're messaging from a professional LinkedIn with a professional message that you spell checked and did all that stuff. And when you're emailing them, you're emailing them in a good amount of time. You're working for them. And at the end of the day, all they care about is you're sending them deals that make sense for them, right? Like if you start a relationship with one of them and you're professional enough to follow their guidelines, that's all that matters at the end of the day, you know. Um, so most of the funds that I work with, I feel confident just because I know, how to reach out to them and how to get them to react to me. But also, I usually try to start it off on the best foot forward, right? Sending them a pretty good deal. And then also, when I send them a deal, it's, hey, I'm only sending this deal to you right now. So you have the first pick at it. You let me know, right? And that's a good way to start a relationship because the last thing you want to say is, hey, yeah, I sent you that deal, and then 12 hours later, you're like, oh, that deal's gone. Sorry, right? They just won't work with, right? If you send them a deal, you almost need to make sure that they get back to you with a yes, no, or counter before you market that anywhere else. That's again, I teach that process in the mentorship because you could talk about it for hours, you know. But it's something that good to know, right? And to understand. So definitely make sure you're presenting professionally on all your platforms and make sure that you when you send them a deal, it's available for them to buy. That's huge. That's just huge. So remind that and say, if I send you this deal, just know that I'm not going to send it to anyone else until you give me a yes or no. And that
Usually, how
that goes a
long
long
that
way.
take to give them? It a week? It 3 days?
It
How long
depends
that
on the
you would?
fund. It depends on the fund and the relationship. So sometimes it's within a couple hours, and sometimes it could be a couple days. And it really depends, right? Because you're talking to humans, right? And those humans work with a bunch of people, and they go through a bunch of corporate stuff that they have to deal with. And so sometimes they get flooded with deals, and it takes them a day or two to get back to you because their numbers have to go through a couple of people. And sometimes they get back to you within a couple of hours because maybe they don't have anything in that market right now, and you send it to them at the right time, right? So it's hard to say. Sometimes it's a couple hours, sometimes it can be 2 days. Um, it's But you learn that depending on when you start working with the funds, you learn which ones get back to you quicker, which ones take a little bit longer. And then once you understand that, you learn how to set up the deal in the first place with the seller, right? And so the more experience you get working with funds, the more you understand how to set up the agent and seller on timelines. And that's just something that you learn, and it becomes easier the longer you do it.
Do you have a timeline when you first uh, outreach to that person and respond, and when you set up the time for you to have the first meeting face to face or something like that? You have that type of more like a routine thing that you do, like after a couple of exchange informations, you try to, let's say, let meet up to do introductions meeting to see how we align on what we need to really work together like that.
Yeah, so a lot of it is like I just want to see if you'll respond. Like the first message is to get a response back, right? And so once you get a response back, especially on LinkedIn, it's, hey, can I get his email? Okay, I got his email. Okay, that same day, I'm sending him an email saying, hey, great connecting with you. How do you usually start relationships? Do you start by getting on a phone call, or do you just want me to start sending you stuff? Do you have a buy box? So usually they will let you know. And so, in the example I showed, it was a guy that said, hey, here's what I'm looking for. Here's my email. Send me what you got. And then boom, you just kind of go from there, right? Other ones have been, hey, thanks for reaching out to me today. Let's set up a call for next Monday or Tuesday. And then you just go through everything there, right? And so there's obviously always certain questions you want to ask. Um, and that's how you start the relationship. It's really based on, everyone's availability. It's not a weird thing to work through, right? It's just a normal conversation with a normal human at the end of the day. But yeah, you got to make sure that you're on top of it and you're kind of working to their timelines, right? Because that's what matters. That's they like working with people that work with them, you know. Oh yeah, go for it. What were you?
Yeah. Well, I can see you. I much appreciate the training. A lot of good information.
Awesome.
Um, I'd like to ask you, what are some of their preferred markets, especially in the Eastern time zones?
Any markets that have a good, it's landlord friendly markets on the East Coast, as well as, migration patterns going that way. So it's pretty easy to tell places like Florida, the Carolinas, I mean, Texas, that those kind of places. Um, that being said, any market is going to work. It's just understanding how to work the market. That's what matters much more. You know, there's competition everywhere. There is plenty of properties to go around in most markets. And, it doesn't mean that one market's better than the other market. It's just how are you working that specific market correctly? That's kind of what I tend to tell everyone, right? That's what matters. But if you do sign up for the mentorship, part of the mentorship is I put you in a specific market. Secondary and primary and secondary market to go throughout the mentorship in, and then usually that's what you kind of go with moving forward. So, but that being said, any really landlord friendly market. Um, does that make sense, Emery?
Well, yeah, it does. It does. Would you say certain counties in Connecticut are okay? I mean, it's Connecticut's growing. A lot of people are getting out of New York to, they
Yeah.
work in New York. They're moving to Connecticut.
You
It's a
know,
little bit
I,
expensive.
Yeah, I don't think that's one that's hit too much by
Oh,
funds,
okay.
unfortunately. Maybe one here and there, but not one that comes. If it doesn't come to top of mind, it's probably not happening really that much. Um,
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah. And again, I grew up in California. I've lived here most of my life. I've lived in Arizona, Scottsdale. That's really where I got started with all this stuff, real estate. It's where a lot of people got started, funny enough. But
Mm-hmm.
I lived in Austin, Texas. I've lived in Orlando, Florida. I've lived in a lot of these markets where funds sometimes would buy and sometimes pull out. And so, when you kind of get in the mentorship, we put you in markets where multiple funds are in. And so you always
Mhm.
have someone buying. Yeah.
Mhm. Boy, you get around.
Why not? Why not?
Well, it's
No kids, no
variety
kids.
is the spice of life.
Yeah, there we go. I appreciate you coming and
I appreciate it.
being
That
here.
that was my basic question. Getting a lot of information here.
Awesome. And again, hit the YouTube, so there's definitely stuff there, or set up a call and we can discuss. So
Great, I'll do. Will do.
awesome, awesome. Oh, I just heard we only have a couple slots left, so it's there for anyone that wants it. Raheem, you're up, brother. Oh, where'd you go?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. There you are. You popped
Okay,
out
all
for a
right.
sec.
Man, I appreciate you for having this webinar, man. I just had a quick question. I know you
Yeah,
say the hedge funds are buying between 84 and 87% minus repairs, right?
yeah.
Sounds like a disaster from a cash flow standpoint. Are they not really concerned with cap rates or anything like that? Or are they just playing the appreciation game? Is that pretty much what it is?
No, so it's more about the price points that they stick within. You know, if you stick in the right price points, depending on what market you're in, because they take into account, right, property taxes, insurance, um, all the stuff that everyone else has to take in. At the same time, they're using cash to buy stuff, right? So a lot of their financing is either cash or very, very, very cheap financing. And they're only looking for a certain return, right? And so for them, it's mainly based on what those price points to gross rental yields can produce. And so that's a big part of working with funds, and they'll kind of guide you to that, right? To what properties to target. But that's the big part of it. It's like if you target the right assets, it's doable.
Gotcha. Okay. I appreciate that.
Of course, man. Of course. Thanks for coming. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. I think we got one here. Shakila, did I
Yes, hello, James. How are you?
good? Did I pronounce that correctly?
You did. You did great. That's
That's what I'm
exactly how
talking
you
about.
pronounce it.
Kyla. Love it.
Yes, thank you so much for having the call. It's been very helpful to me. And also the videos and stuff, I've been watching them. And
Awesome.
I've started sending out emails already because I know in one of your videos, you're like, you just got to get started. So
Yeah.
I said, oh, you know what? I'm just going to get started. I'm just going to send out some emails. So I've sent out probably like 30 now.
Nice.
And so, but my thing is in reference being a realtor as well. My concern, I guess more so, is just making sure that I'm doing these contracts right. So when
Okay.
I do get the yes, that I'm not like, okay, oh, now how am I supposed to write this? And I understand that I'm supposed to disclose that I'm a realtor when I'm
Mhm.
sending over the contract. But how does the process work when you've sent over the contract and filled out all the information, and then they come back and you say, okay, yep, my buyer's gonna take it. And then you have to, is it that then you switch the information and include the funds information on there, or kind of how does that work?
So, it depends. Because you can do it, there's different ways to do it, obviously, right? So,
Mhm.
um, without knowing exactly what you're doing, that what I can say is when I am working a property, I put my business name on the contract.
Mhm.
Um, I'm not an agent, but even if I was an agent, I would say, "Hey, this is what I'm doing, right? I'm buying it myself." But so just a little tidbit, it's a little too expensive for me. I actually have a couple big buyers that I work with. So I'm gonna show it to them real quick as well. And they're gonna tell me if this is a good price or not. There's a chance that they just buy it from me anyways, right?
Okay.
Um, to put it out there, I put my business on the contract, and then I'm either assigning it to them with an assignment contract. Some funds will send me an assignment contract. Some funds I have to send an assignment contract to, right? But the fund will want to see your contract. They're going to want to see the terms you have on that contract because there's certain terms that you need to have on the contract for the funds, which I do have in my YouTube videos. So if you watch the YouTube
Right.
videos, they're all in there. Um, and so it's making sure and I don't know if you watch Jerry Norton or any of them, but you gotta make sure you have certain terms in the contract that protects everyone, including the seller and yourself,
Hmm.
um, and so that's pretty much the route we take is yeah, my business is on the contract, and then I'm either starting a double close, so a new contract with the fund closing on the same day, or I'm assigning my business name contract to the fund.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. Very
All
good.
right.
Thank you. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
that.
Of course. Awesome. Awesome. Well, see, let's see, y'all. So, again, it was great having everyone here. Um, definitely sign up for a call if you want to kind of talk over a couple of these things and how we can kind of help you moving forward. I wish I could, JV with everyone here. It's just obviously I only have so much time in my personal life as well as my business life. So my goal is to really take my system, give it to you, and then now you can go help out a bunch of bird dogs as well. So we can kind of get everyone worked with. So that's my goal. Everyone that's been here for the training, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Um, you know, one deal will pay back the dang mentorship. I'm just gonna put that out there. So, there might even been someone in here that I'm currently working with that I might be closing a deal with tomorrow. I don't actually, they might not be in here. Um, so I do have a couple people that came here that I have mentored, but they're not here anymore. Great. Um, but either way, like I said, we're here to learn from everyone. You can definitely do a deal by just watching my YouTube videos. My goal is to take the timing from those videos though and shrink it to this, for anyone that is willing to listen to me for hours on hours on hours. And so, would love to have everyone there, but obviously there's only a certain amount of slots. And so, we can at least get you on a phone call, see if you're a good fit for it. And if you are a good fit for it, we'll get you going and we'll get you selling. So that's the goal here. So appreciate everyone. Like I said, everyone that has stayed through the whole time, I have your emails, I have your names. I will shoot you that contact in that buy box for that one fund. Again, make sure you have a property that fits the buy box before reaching out to them. That's what they are expecting. That's what they want. And I appreciate again everyone being here and listening. So, have a good time. I think I did put the calendar in here a few times. The Tidy Cow. Go ahead and hit that link. We'll put it in one more time. So if anyone, and if the slots fill up, I think we did open a couple more. So we'll get anyone that wants to get on the phone call, we'll get you. Um, just, all right, I'm gonna tell my VA to open up. If there's only two left, we'll open up a couple more. So have a couple spots left on the actual mentorship itself. So let's get some deals, guys, and Godspeed out there. So thanks again for coming. Thanks for hanging. You'll get an email from me, like I said, and we'll go from there. Thanks, everybody. Looking forward to hearing from you on the next call.
Speak to you too.
Awesome.
Thank you, James. Appreciate you.
You guys are welcome.
Thank you, man.
you. Bye bye.
Bye.
See you
Patient
guys
James.
later.